My guest tonight is quite simply one of the greatest comedic minds who has ever lived. From Monty Python to A Fish Called Wanda, for 60 years he's been inventing and reinventing what the world finds funny. He's about to embark on a live tour of Australia and is currently working on a new season of the beloved sitcom Fawlty Towers. Please welcome Basil Fawlty himself, John Cleese! John Cleese, welcome to The Weekly.
Nice to be here, Charlie.
Now, you are working on a Fawlty Towers reboot with your daughter, Camilla. How is Basil Fawlty going to cope with the modern world?
Well, it takes place in the Caribbean at a small boutique hotel in the Caribbean where my daughter is the manager, and Basil comes out to visit her. Now, that way, you get away from everything. You have a completely multicultural cast, because that's the way hotels are. And there's a whole range of possibilities there. And I suddenly thought you could do that, and you get a lot of goodwill from the original series. And it would be fun to write something with Camilla.
Now, Monty Python gets talked about like it was this singular entity, but it was made up of very, very different individuals. Which Python do you think enjoyed the experience the most?
I think Mike and Terry and Graham. I felt after 2 series, I was kind of a purist. I'm not proud of it. And I felt we were beginning to repeat ourselves, and there was it wasn't as original as it had been at the beginning. And that's why I eventually left. I mean, it was also because my writing partner had become an alcoholic, and that was a heavy burden to bear. But you're right, Charlie. The key to a good team is a lot of people who are all good at different things.
I'm French. Why do you think I have this outrageous accent, you silly king?
I read somewhere that when you were watching the coronation, it reminded you a little of your days in Monty Python. I'm wondering, were you jealous of their costume budget?
Yes. My wife was lying on the bed with the cats watching the coronation, and she called me over. And after about 5 seconds, Charlie, I thought, it's a Python sketch. Yeah. Lots of people in really silly costumes, all looking as though everything is very serious. It is very important. I haven't laughed like that for a long time.
You've been here a number of times. You've gotten to know us. Do you think it makes sense that we're subjects of the monarchy?
I don't know how you feel about it. You see, I mean, when I'm in Canada and when I'm in Australia, I feel this is fundamentally, this is an extension of the culture I grew up in. People have got a great sense of humour. What I love about the Aussies is there's no bullshit.
Well, I appreciate that, although I do assure you there is plenty of bullshit.
Oh, I'm sure there is. I mean, you know, let us face it. Human beings are not particularly perfect creatures. And if I was writing a book now, I would call it wall-to-wall bullshit. Now, I'm told that the woke movement is strong in Australia. That very much surprises me, because the basic idea of woke is let's be nice to people. And that's not a new idea. There was a guy called Jesus Christ who had that idea.
That's true, but they definitely cancelled him.
Good joke, Charlie.
Now, I see on Twitter you engage in that debate a lot about cancel culture and the way it can stifle comedy. But the audience will decide at the end of the day. Anyone can say what they want, but if it's funny, it's funny.
But people have different senses of humour. There's no question about that. I am offended all the time by most of the things I read in the newspaper and a lot in the media, but I'm not trying to stop any of it, because I believe in that Voltaire thing, was I defend your right to express your opinion, even if I totally disagree with it. What I found with most of the woke people won't debate or discuss their ideas, because if they do, they might give some validity to the idea that the other side has a few interesting things to say. And that, I think, is quite totalitarian.
I want to ask you, you were in the Cambridge Footlights, Monty Python, Fawlty Towers, Fish Called Wanda, touring solo shows. Looking back, when were you happiest?
I think there were moments. The Making Life of Brian, which was just everything seemed to go right and everybody was pulling together. Fish Called Wanda the first time. The second one, people were all distracted by other things. You could sense there wasn't the same focus. Fawlty Towers I didn't enjoy much because it was so frantic, although I was very, very happy with the final product.
You are bringing your live show, An Evening with the Late John Cleese, to Australia. Is the name a hint that you're starting to at least consider your mortality?
Oh, I've always done that. I remember when I was teaching, when I was 19, I said to the guy who taught English, tell me a poem I should learn. And he said, Gray's Elegy. And that has got the wonderful line, the paths of glory lead but to the grave. And I've always thought, well, at the end of it, you're dead. Acquiring all these honors and wearing silly hats called crowns and wearing huge dressing gowns with ermine collars. I mean, and we're all dead in the long run.
John Cleese, thank you so much for your time and joining us on The Weekly.
Look forward to seeing you, Charlie.
John Cleese will be touring Australia from July 24th. Would you please thank the wonderful John Cleese?